Okay, I know I said I was gonna do the Silver Age X-Men one. It's coming, I promise. I low-key just can't stay focused on one series at a time. I know I said I was gonna do it, but I just can't. I keep switching, I don't know why. But, in the meantime... Man of Steel? Some people say Superman's overrated. You know what I say to that? Nuh-uh. So right here I got volume 1 of the Man of Steel hardcover out of 4. 2 and 3 are relatively the same price, but for some reason volume 4 costs like $1 million, but whatever. So this is the hardcover right here. That's the back of the dust jacket. This is what the front looks like. That's what the back looks like. It's a great way to collect the story because you get a whole bunch of pages right there. So, I mean, like, just letting you know if you wanted it. So before we get into the actual stories, let's just talk about Superman for a little bit, because my boy is getting slandered unfairly nowadays. People saying he's boring because he's a Boy Scout and he's too OP. Well, Goku's OP as fuck, but he still gets his ass beat every now and then. He's not boring, I mean, unless you hate Super, which, fair. But, let me just say, if the Man of Steel was faced with a hostage situation where a suicide bomber had a bomb strapped to his chest and he was gonna blow up a bunch of people, and he didn't want anyone to die because he's a good guy, but he wanted to save everyone, but he wouldn't be fast enough to rush everyone out before the guy exploded himself. You tell me how that isn't a high-stakes situation right there. Because that's one of the things he has to deal with in this book. I don't think that's the exact situation, but he has to deal with something very similar. This thing collects, like, Superman origins, you know, like Superman coming to Earth as a baby, and also how Lex Luthor ends up becoming his rival and stuff, and it includes a lot of cool stories. By the way, Lex Luthor used to be a daywalker with a receding hairline. How insane is that? I didn't even know that when I was reading this, so I was like, damn, bruh. Low-key looks better bald. Keep him bald, bruh. Or just give him waves like fucking Green Goblin, bruh. Those waves are sick. My favorite story in this one is probably, spoilers, but the one where Superman goes to Planet Darkseid. I don't remember what it's called. It's called Apocalypse, right? Anyway, he gets brainwashed by Doomsday to basically be his champion, and he's fighting against a resistance on the planet against Doomsday. And at the end of the... I'm not going to spoil how it ends, but that one's my favorite one in this story. There's a whole lot of stories I could go over in this. The thing is that some people prefer about like manga versus comics is it's one continuous story. It is one continuous story for this, but they're pretty episodic, not gonna lie. A lot of it's like 5 to 6 issue arcs, but occasionally there would be like 1 or 2 issues in between that are, you know, just like regular stories. But for the most part, it's multi-issue arcs. They don't connect super well together, but that doesn't really matter. In a way, you're kind of getting multiple short, like multi-issue Superman arcs that are all pretty interesting. I don't think there's a single boring arc in the book. The book's entertaining all the way through. Except maybe the origins of Superman, mainly just because everyone fucking knows the origins of Superman. I mean, it's not the most interesting thing to read for the millionth time, but other than that, pretty much everything in the book's entertaining from start to finish. Like, even if you didn't know Superman's origin, it would be entertaining. Like, it's not badly written or anything. It's just a little bit played out, you know. But for the most part, they're all like enclosed stories, but it doesn't have the sort of overly wordy slog that Golden and Silver Age reading has in it. This is like prime comic books right here. Now, if you're, I think, asking about the paper quality, this seems like more of a cardstock paper to me. It's not like super thick. If you hold it up to the light, you could see through it, but just reading it, you're not going to see through it. I think this one was like taken in the bathroom while someone was showering or something, because the pages on the top are a little bit warped from water damage. But that's not really something I care about that much, because I'm just here for the stories. I like to keep my stuff in good condition when I buy it, but small damage like that isn't going to bother me. Anyway, it's got some really sick art in it too. Like, I really love this art. Look at this shit. Look at some of this shit. Also, another thing that was pretty sick was the last issue of this. Action Comics 587, I actually already owned in a single issue. And I read it. I bought this in like a comic book haul. I used to buy those and just read a bunch of random ones. I like collecting like linear stories now, but like, dude, look how old this shit is. This paper's like actually yellow now, but this story is pretty sick too. It's not what I wouldn't say it's like my favorite story in there. Y'all already know what my favorite is, but this one's probably like top seven favorite stories in the hardcover. I don't remember every single one because I've been reading for a while. Like I said, I hop back and forth between series so much. Look at these pages though. Like, dude, look at this art. Tell me this art isn't fire. Look at all those colors. Like, even in this old ass paper, those colors still pop pretty nice. Look at the pinks right here. Dude, I love it whenever colors have, each panel has its own like color theme somewhat. Like, okay, so this one's the rocks, so it's mostly like blue background and the rocks, so it's like gray and blue. And this one, the entire thing is just pink around it. Like, it just gives the whole panel like such a vibe. Each panel I'm vibing. It's so epic. You want to just flip through it a little bit more and show you some art? I should be a little more careful with it because this thing's kind of old, but it's not in the best condition. I don't gotta take super good care of it if I don't want to. Anyway, if you haven't read any Superman comics and you only know them from the movies, please read this. Superman Man of Steel, Volume 1 by John Byrne and Marv Wolfman, Jerry Ordway, Dick fucking that guy. Dude, just look up, I think if you just look up like Superman Man of Steel hardcover Volume 1, this will come up. If you want to get into Superman, this is the place to start, 100%. Like, don't start with the Golden Age stuff. Don't start with the Silver Age stuff. Like, if you're a modern reader, this will be like the best way to jump in. Like, I know some people like Golden Age and Silver Age stuff. I like some Silver Age stuff. Golden Age is a bit much for me, too wordy for me, but like, I get some people like that stuff. But I feel like I have a pretty good pulse on the modern reader, like generally what they won't like, since I became a new reader like only a couple years ago. I feel like this is the best place to jump in, especially since Superman is not like always portrayed the best in the movies or the shows. I think Smallville is probably the best interpretation, but even then, like, it's not close to this. This is pretty much, I think this is peak Superman. I don't know if I should say it's peak Superman per se, but it's definitely up there. On a scale of 1 to 10, for story, I'll give this like an 8 or 9. Superman always fills me with hope whenever I'm reading it because he's just such a good guy. People say that's boring, but I don't really think most characters are boring unless their characterization is good. As long as a character has at least like one redeeming quality that I like, or if like there's other characters in the series, as long as the main character has a redeeming quality I like, you know, I can find them interesting. Or even if characters don't have any redeeming qualities, if the people around them are foil to them, stuff like that. So just for story, I give that an 8 or 9. It always gives me a great feeling reading any Superman stories out of this right here. For art, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I know this isn't the most amazing, like, I don't know, put this shit in the Louvre type of art you've ever seen, but it's so good, like, for comic books. This type of art right here is probably my favorite type of art in comic books. Like, very solid colors inside the lines. I don't like it when they do shading inside the lines. Like, very solid colors inside the lines, but there's a lot of lines, like, separating giant, like, different color splashes, you know. There's a lot of, barriers between the colors that contrast them a lot. I don't like it when they fade into each other. I just love very polarizing, stark, like, color compositions like this. There's a lot of that in this book because of the way it was colored. W coloring. So the coloring's amazing. So if you even them out, that's like a 9 out of 10 or a 9.5 out of 10. So literally this.